Welcome back. The Chinese Communist Party takes aim at a number of foreign clothing brands that have spoken out in opposition of the CCP's human rights abuses in Xinjiang. The party's Global Times newspaper, state-run, calling out brands like H&M, Burberry, and Nike over their concerns of forced labor of the Uyghur Muslims. Joining me right now is Florida Congressman, House Armed Services Committee member, and former Green Beret himself, Michael Waltz. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks, Maria.
Well, we know that the Global Times is a state-run media, and anything that comes out of there is pretty much coming from the CCP. Your reaction to what's being spewed out, this propaganda, because these companies have raised their hand about the human rights abuses?
Well, good on H&M for speaking out about the slave labor, the genocide, the forced sterilization of Uyghur women. I mean, these people, Maria, as you know, are being lined up, heads shaven, loaded into rail cars, and mass interned, then tortured, and forced into slave labor. So good on them for speaking up. I want to call out Nike in particular, though. Nike, Apple, Adidas, Coca-Cola lobbied against a bill we had in the Congress just last year banning imports from Xinjiang province from the slave labor there. We're able to kill it in the Senate. Marco Rubio's reintroduced. But you know what? Social justice doesn't just apply right here in the United States. It applies around the world. And I know these companies are just worried about their earnings. But at some point, you have to take a stand, a moral stand. And I'm going to continue to call out their hypocrisy when it comes to supporting social justice here in the United States, but turning a blind eye to just gross, sick human rights abuses that's going on under the thumb of the CCP.
Well, I'm really glad you said that, because really, in many regards, corporate America is letting us down by doing just what you said and moving into China to try to sell to the 1.4 billion people there without recognizing the national security risks and the human rights abuses as well. Should the administration be taking a stronger stand here? What's your take on how the CCP tried to school our State Department in that ridiculous meeting in Alaska last week?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, Maria. Those companies are drunk on Chinese money. Hollywood, our sports enterprise. Look at how the NBA kowtowed when one coach said, "I stand with freedom in Hong Kong." And the administration is already showing its weakness. It had some initial pretty good rhetoric, but to allow themselves to be lectured for 15 minutes on the world stage on U.S. soil was just disgraceful. They should have gotten up and walked away. I guarantee you Mike Pompeo, President Trump, Robert O'Brien wouldn't have stood for that in the previous administration. Look, Maria, we have to take a stand. And back to the corporations, it's not just a moral issue. It's a national security issue. As you mentioned, China has repeatedly said it will cut off our supplies of pharmaceuticals, of rare earth minerals. Look at what they're doing to Australia right now and trying to crush them economically. We have to wake up that the CCP is in a Cold War against the United States. It's economic war, and Wall Street needs to wake up to it as well. Sell into India. There's 1.3 billion Indians right next door, and it's the world's largest democracy that's not trying to stamp out the American dream as President Xi is in China.
Yeah, so I agree with you. That would be the answer. Find growth elsewhere, like India.
Right.
Could the administration be doing something to encourage that? I mean, look, it's no secret that our, adversaries are testing this administration. Look at North Korea. U.S. and Japanese intelligence confirmed North Korea fired off its first ballistic missile test in over a year this week. The missile landed roughly 200 miles off the coast of Japan. The launch comes as tensions have been spiking between the Biden administration and North Korea in recent months because of the administration's outreach to South Korea. So you've got North Korea here, you've got China there, you've got Iran here, all testing this administration. What do they need to do to come out strong, to show China we're not going to accept this behavior? North Korea, same.
Well, Maria, but you hit the nail on the head. These authoritarian regimes smell weakness. And when they do, they press and they push. When they see strength and they're faced with strength, they are deterred. here's the most interesting thing to come out of Anchorage. The Chinese foreign minister said, you are no longer in a position of strength, United States of America, to talk to us about human rights. So we have to reestablish deterrence, but that comes from having a strong economy. Chinese military planners are planning on the United States going bankrupt before they make their most significant military moves around the world. And as this administration spins us into oblivion, 1.9 trillion just last month, on top of the trillion that was already sitting there, they are just putting their foot on the gas to drive this country right off the fiscal cliff. So they need to take a stand diplomatically. Working with Japan, Australia. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You've got a $3 trillion climate plan that's being paraded around as an infrastructure plan as well. Congressman, are these plans going to just go through without any Republican support? For example, how would you vote on this infrastructure plan, $3 trillion? And then higher taxes are coming right after that.
Well, the higher taxes are an absolute no. They're just going to kill wealth in the United States and take it back offshore after the Trump administration had done a fantastic job of bringing it back into the United States. And we have to bring the manufacturing back into the United States. We found that things like gloves and masks and PPE can very quickly be a national security issue, and we need access to those supply chains. If not in the United States, then countries like Australia, Japan, South Korea that aren't going to use them for hostage diplomacy. I haven't seen the infrastructure package, Maria. We need one for sure. I liked the public-private partnership approach that we saw in the last administration, but just trillions upon trillions of dollars of our kids and grandkids' money, it just won't work.
All right, Congressman, a lot to talk about. We'll have you back soon. Congressman Michael Waltz, great to see you, sir. Thank you. We'll be right back.